Hello there, this is Ronnie. Thanks for tuning in today. I wanted to talk about a topic. I don't know, maybe this is probably a little bit off topic for my channel, in which I mostly talk about raw foods, but I think it's related to living a good life, living a healthy life. So I'd be happy to hear your feedback, but I don't plan on making this a central focus of the channel, I suppose. But something that I've wanted to explore and really get feedback from an audience about and see what people think. It's a topic that I've been thinking about for a number of years because I guess it's been quite personal for me, and that's the concept of what I would now call emotional intimacy in relationships. And why do I want to talk about that? Well, my story with that is, for me it feels like a lot of my life, whether it comes to friendships, maybe even family relationships, and certainly romantic relationships, that something I've always searched for above and beyond anything else was this sense of intimacy. Although I didn't think about that as being the word, I think I might have used the word chemistry or vulnerability or openness or connection or something. I don't know what words I used in the past, but it was something that, reflecting on it, was something I was kind of searching for a little bit. And over and above, in romantic relationships, over and above like sex, over and above it, other things that you would get out, or like getting anything from the person, like money or stuff, or I don't know. Over and above all that, um, this is what I was looking for, and I think that I've experienced it a little bit, probably in my earliest relationship or girlfriend or whatever. But that relationship didn't really last very long. So maybe I'm not sure about that. Maybe that wasn't really that. But I started to notice that something was missing for me in general when I was entering into relationships late, like in my 20s and stuff like that. When I was in my teens, I didn't really date anyone in school or anything like that, and I was like attracted to women, girls, and like the girls I was in school with, and girls were attracted to me, or some were, not all of them, but some showed interest, and some of those I was interested in return, and I didn't really know how to act and what to say and what to do, and I did have a little bit of a sense of like, um, maybe a Christian guilt kind of thing or something like that. Not sure if it was really that, because I wasn't really brought up very strongly Christian or anything. So I don't really remember sort of being told anything either way about it. But I certainly didn't really have an open conversation with anyone as I was growing up, with any adult, about relationships and how those work and how those start. And certainly my dad never spoke to me about, as a man or as a boy, what you how that works. And therefore I probably looked to the television and films and things to look for advice and information on that. And what you get in television and films is a romanticized or kind of unrealistic and slightly fantasy version of these kind of things, where, for example, there are types of women in TV shows and films that don't exist in real life. They simply don't exist. That I've never seen in the real world. The types of women sometimes that are portrayed, because sometimes they portray women, especially like, and this is maybe part of the whole agenda of these hyper heroic, sort of uber confident, really ballsy, yet very feminine and very like these women that are just like super women and that. Um, and these types of women don't really exist. it's an unrealistic kind of person to be. And relationships are kind of very easy sometimes in film or romance. Like people just meet and it all just happens and it's all good. And I guess I kind of thought that's what happens. You know, you just meet and it's all good. It's not about as a guy trying to chase a woman down and get her to eventually give in, like, which is kind of what it actually is, like a lot of the time. Um, no, I mean not quite, but like it, it can be in certain situations. Um, but it took me a long time to sort of get into a relation, and I realized I had to change. What I was doing wasn't getting anywhere, and I was a bit manipulative as well. Like when I was a teenager, what I realized was because of my shyness, I was shy to make eye contact or talk to girls, you know. And I remember specifically a girl I quite liked coming up to talk to a group I was in, and I was like paralyzed, like fear of embarrassing myself. I was so scared to like say something wrong, so I just didn't say anything. I just closed off. And then sometimes if they wanted to talk to you or came over to you, I would just like ignore them. I didn't really know what to say or do. And then I kind of took that a bit further where I maybe consciously started to do that. I consciously started to like ignore them or not make eye contact or whatever, and then it seemed to make them like me a little bit more or want my attention a little bit more. Um, but it never turned into anything, so it was like pointless game to play, you know. So I kind of realized, right, I can't be like that. And then you leave school and you go into the world and you've lost uh your community, your school community, and what that makes. And you really need to find another community because it's quite rare for men. Well, maybe it's not, but when you just go out into the world, you're just a random strange guy to all these women. So you see guys that do these things. They go up to women in the street and get their phone number, but it's like extreme effort, right? And you're literally going up to women in the street, going up to women at a supermarket, going up to women at these places. I've done these things a little bit. I've done these things, and um, I don't know. I suppose if you wanted to do that a lot, you could that would work eventually. You know, if you wanted to go out and talk to loads and loads of people, um, but it's a situation of sort of slightly. It's a bit uncomfortable for a lot of women. I think it's a little bit threatening. Some women actually see it as a whole patriarchy, whatever thing, you know. But um, but the issue with all that really is that I think it's very hard for a woman to assess a man outside of the context of a community. Something we don't really talk about, like dating apps and things. Oh, why is it that the dating apps maybe don't work so much? Well, it's because all it is the face. Here's a guy. Here's his face, with actually no context of who this guy is in the act and within the community of people. How do women really assess a man? It's kind of through what other people say about them, to some degree. And so if you take that away, they have to rely on just very simple cues, um, of basic standards of attractiveness or whatever. Um, and men are slightly different in which the men will assess their attractiveness. Men will be very attracted to a woman up front without knowing much about her, and will become less attracted once they know more about her. So men's attraction, as people would say, is often physical or visual, but I don't think it's quite that. I think men have less to fear from women, so their attractiveness is easier at first. What men um, secondly judge women on is reputation, uh, more so like their sexual reputation. And within a community, if you're all part of a community and that woman is slept with a lot of the men in that community, then she's less attractive and less of a likely prospect, a good prospect for like a partner. And she's already proved that she doesn't want a relationship or doesn't sustain relationships. So anyway, regardless of all that, so you leave school. I went to university. I didn't really do well. I didn't really engage with it very well. I was fairly immature with the way I was. I didn't really see it as what it was. I just thought it was the next year of school, and I would get handed the work, and I would do the work, and then they would let me go home. I didn't really want to be at school either. Like I wasn't that great at enjoying school, but I did well at it. I did what I was told, and so I thought university would be the same thing, and it wasn't really. It was a lot. I went to university. It was very much like kind of you go off and do your own thing. If you don't turn up, fine. We're not going to even say anything about it. so so I didn't do that well. I didn't really get involved with things. I didn't get to know people. I don't drink alcohol, so I was immediately staying away from a lot of social situations and stuff. And you know, found it relatively hard to meet women, and I also had a kind of infatuation with a girl for a while that didn't really go anywhere, but that was occupying my mind for a long time. And eventually I moved on from that and had my first, girlfriend and stuff. And and since then, it's very on and off. Like I go for quite long periods of time single, or I have been quite a lot of the time. And then, so I had a few relationships, and then I started to feel like, okay, I need to maybe make more of an effort, or I'm waiting for this whole perfect thing to happen, and I should just like, date more. So I started to date more. I went on the dating apps. I started to date quite a lot. And you learn to just play the game of the dating apps. And then you learn to play the game of sort of what certain women want. And you just start, this part of you starts to come out that you don't really like. Because to be attractive to a lot of women, you have to be this thing that isn't very, that is a reflection of what women want. That that women then look at and kind of don't. I don't know, like women hate those kind of guys. At the same time, that's the kind of guys women are giving attention to. So they should maybe accept some responsibility for that. But don't really like it. Don't really like that. And generally had better situations meeting people in real life. Um, and I've had a few relationships that have come out of the fruit festivals, but that always feels a little bizarre to me because I feel like me being a guy that runs a fruit festival is what they're attracted to sometimes, or what they're interested in, rather than me as the person. So when they realize that I'm a person, that then they have to say, well, actually, do I like this person? The fact that someone has a festival or whatever is might be a fun thing or something, might be an impressive thing to some people, but is that really something to base like a relationship on? Especially if they think that means something else. Maybe they think that means I've got some kind of a lifestyle, or and I feel like I have a pretty good lifestyle. Like I have a pretty free lifestyle to some degree. I have a lot of time that I can use for myself if I like. Um, but there's more to it, but I won't get into it. But but a pattern of a number of relationships and the dating and conversations with women that has arisen over and over again has been for me like an inability to really connect with them. And this goes against the fact that what I see presented from women is a desire for a loving relationship or with a loving connection, a connection, wanting a connection, and all this stuff that I hear women claiming to want over and over again and portraying, and saying, where are the men like this? And, all this kind of stuff. And yet, it's not just myself, but many men realize that when you try and look for that or are open to that or whatever, actually it's often not what women are really looking for. And when you play the other role, it's maybe more successful. So what I noticed, for example, in the first relationship I was in, it's I my maybe downside is I'm quite trusting quite quickly, and I think I'm quite desperate for it to be more. Like I'm quite desperate for um to just keep on going down this path of learning more about this person and getting to know them more. And to me, like the first relationship I was in, and this look back on it, I was 19, she was maybe 18, and or something like that. And we knew each other for a few years and stuff, but mostly we were together for maybe kind of only like 5 months, and most of that time we didn't see each other because she was away or hiding from me or whatever. And I was like, this is great. And I'd never had that before. I'd never met someone, got on with them so well, had great conversation, really enjoyed their company, been attracted to them, and that being quite a natural and mutual thing. And I just wanted that to advance quite quickly. And I don't mean sexually. I mean I wanted to be like, we're now boyfriend and girlfriend, and we are together, and now we're going to spend a lot of time together. And I think from my perspective, that was all good because I didn't really have a social life outside of that. I didn't really have a lot of really good friends or anything. And a lot of the things in my life weren't working out. So I thought, well, this would be obviously good for me. Um, and this relationship is the best thing that's in my life at that time, you know. But for her, from her perspective, she had many friends, including male friends. Of course, women have their male friends, and she was very committed to her course and her studies at university. She was, I think, quite a popular person, you know, in her course. And for women at that age, you know, it's a very powerful time, I guess, of going out, of meeting a lot of people, getting a lot of attention, and having a lot of options potentially, you know. And so it's maybe quite hard to go, are they going to give that up for this one guy that they've just met? Or they give up the possibility of that or the option of that? And well, it turned out in that situation, no. But I was really pushing for it to be more serious, um, for just to really see her more and develop more of a relationship. And everything else was quite good, actually. A lot of it. Anyway, that came to an end. Um, we knew each other for a while after that. We actually lost touch for a while, and then we became friends again, I suppose. And it was kind of on and off a little bit. And then when she did finally, I guess, meet someone else, although she never told me, I just kind of figured it out. And she just stopped talking to me at that point, and that was really heartbreaking. Like that was I would say the only time in my life that I've really experienced like a heartbreak, really, um, really kind of painful time, but also a time in which I really, you know, all the emotions come up. You want to be angry at them, you want to be all this, and you just go, no, it's not. It's not going to get me anywhere. It doesn't mean anything. Um, I really wanted her to tell me, but she just decided to ignore me. So that was a shame. I wanted her at least to say something like, "I've moved on. I've met someone." I just wanted to to explain it, and she didn't. So, but that's fine. Um, And let me think. And even actually, that's another thing. During the relationship, I just wanted her. I was very, very kind of insecure and jealous and stuff. So I remember feeling like part of the reason it came to an end was like I remember wanting her to say that she wanted to see me. I wanted her to not act like really flippant about the relationship. um, but anyway, but I've not been in touch with that person for a long time, and that hurt for a long time after that. But that was like a very good experience for me because I definitely after that became a much more I was much more in touch with myself a little bit more or something. Or like I was more realistic. I was more um, true or something. I'm not sure what the right words are. And what I learned was that you go through these heartbreaks and you experience a lot of pain and discomfort and confusion, and it was really bad, like for a long time. But what I sort of learned was that the pain of that, because it is like a physical pain, that the best thing to do is to focus on it, to sit there, not distract yourself, but completely focus on it. And the big mistake people make is distract themselves with alcohol, drugs, um, casual sex, all these things, distractions. And that's what generally people do, I think, with a lot of these griefs, traumas, whatever you want to call it. They never just fully sit with it, focus on it, feel it, and allow it to flow and pass on. As soon as you focus on it, it really doesn't. You realize it's not really that painful. Weirdly enough, very strange. So that's what was a big thing I learned, and I really learned that you go through these emotions when you have a grief or a breakup. You can get angry. You can go into denial where you're like, oh, I don't care. Great, good for them. Love it. Fantastic. They met someone else. That's really great. Wonderful. I'm so happy for them. And that's not real. You're in denial about it. And you can feel anger towards them and bitterness and resentment that lasts for a long time. You can, all these stages of different, people talk about stages of grief. And it comes down to the accepting what's happened completely accepting what's happened and really forgiving yourself, forgiving the other person, as well, if there is any forgiveness really, but like just basically accepting it. It is what it is. And it's very hard to see your own mistakes and the chances you had and look back on that and realize that you've got no power to go back and do anything. All you can do is take that knowledge forward. And what that really taught me from that point onwards was to not take people for granted. So I really never, from that point onwards, I never. But also, I thought that I would meet other people like that all the time. I thought, okay, I'll meet someone else like that next week or next month, and it's really not that often for me that I meet someone that I really get on with like that. So, um, and I would say I still don't know if I've ever felt as comfortable in conversations with a person as I did in that relationship. I think we had a really good kind of rapport. Maybe this is all in my head. Like I'm probably making it all up, and I think I did make up an entire false image of her. That when I would actually see her was like not maybe not quite the same thing, but she was a great person, and I not in touch with her, but I think that she's um went on to do the career that she wanted and stuff like that. Um, and since then, my relationships, the second one I had, I don't know if I've got a lot of time in this video left, but in the second relationship I had, the first relationship, it never actually progressed to like a physical relationship. Okay. Um, both young, both not not having experience, um, which is also part of the regret in a way. but, but the second relationship I was in was the first one that was physically intimate, and there was always something missing. There was always, for me, a lack of a chemistry, a lack of something, and but we had mostly a very good relationship mostly, and it kind of started to break down towards the end, but we mostly had quite a good time together. But there was a bit of a lack of romance or chemistry or something. But also, what I was quite fascinated, and it's the first start of my learning in this direction, was figuring out what I was looking for, what was missing for me, and what I had enjoyed so much. I think about the first relationship was how much it felt like it felt really like she was like an open book or something. I'm not sure what the phrase would be, but I really uh, got to know her, I think, and learned a lot about her. And she would talk a lot about herself and her concerns and fears, and she would tell me things and say, "I've never told anyone that," and that was really wonderful. That was really nice to feel like a person trusted you with that, and that was really like uh, such a such a nice thing, I think. And I think in the second relationship, it wasn't quite that. It was a lack of that, and there were times where she would be talking about something, and I would start to ask her about it, and she would shut down, or she would start to cry, and then kind of get angry at me and say, "Oh, look what you've done now," or something. And I'd be like, "But what is it? Like, why are you? What's going on?" Um, anyway, this video is the battery's running out, so I'll do a part two of this and post it. But yeah, I don't know if this is an appropriate topic or interesting or whatever. It's something I'm exploring. I guess I just want to put it out there, get some feedback. I'm sure a lot of you are great experts on this, as many people are under my videos. Many great experts giving me great advice about what animal products to eat or whatever, or how to yeah, whatever animal products that I should eat. But anyway, so I just thought I would talk about this. I'm exploring it myself. Maybe it's a bit self-indulgent. Let me know. I'm not going to be. I don't have the ability to give advice on relationships or anything like that. I don't know. I'm not qualified to do that, but I do quite like talking about it a little bit. Anyway, that's the end of this video. Thank you very much.